and it gets worse. Honestly, it just makes me feel sick. It makes my skin crawl. Sevan, in my opinion, is the most toxic man in CrossFit. This video should have been made ages ago, but honestly, I was scared of the backlash. I'm at the point now where honestly, I get so much hate that it really won't touch me. Hearing the disgusting comments he made about Dani Speegle made me realise that this needs to be spoken about for the women of CrossFit and for those of us that struggle with mental illnesses or any of the other issues discussed here. I'm going to put a massive trigger warning on the screen because there's a lot of stuff in this that will be really hard to listen to. I'm also fully aware that I might get a lot of backlash for this, so let's preempt that hate. I'm pretty sure that if he does come after me, he's going to call me fat, he's going to tell me that I've got a mental illness, which I do. I have bipolar disorder and PTSD, and that doesn't make me any less of a person, and it absolutely does not devalue my opinions. But this is not all about my opinions. You can watch these clips and make your own mind up because honestly, they speak for themselves. I find it really odd that he has so much support, but maybe everybody else isn't seeing what I've seen. I'm honestly so shocked that this guy has so much support within the CrossFit community, has so many influential people on his podcast. He's been in the space for over 15 years from what I can gather. He worked for CrossFit. He's good friends with Greg Glassman. I stopped watching the CrossFit podcast a long time ago because of this guy and some of the comments that he was making. It came across super clear to me. But recently he has ramped it up even further. I'm going to start off by talking about the sexism, the misogyny, and the way he treats women to begin with, and then we'll get onto the other stuff later. I did have a bit of an altercation with Sevan a couple of years ago, and I'll address that at the end. You may have watched Andrew Hiller's recent video on the reaction to something that Dani put on her story. There are probably far more clips than these ones, but these are some examples of Sevan's attitude towards Dani Speegle.
But it's a picture of her in her underwear with some titties showing, her hair looks cool. Someone said, "Do you get tired of people commenting on your body?" Sevan podcast, for example. Of course I do, but it's not going to stop. I've learned to just deal with it. Wait a second. You're tired of people commenting on your body? I don't believe that. I think she's a liar. But I would love to have her on and ask her, because I go to her Instagram and it's just full of pictures of her body. I don't know, what am I supposed to comment on?
He always uses really vulgar language to describe women. You'll see later on that this is not new. Initially, he's basically insinuating that Dani Speegle is asking for it by putting pictures of her body on the internet, which is absolutely not true. Women are free to post whatever they want. It doesn't mean she's trying to attract men, or anyone for that matter. She may just be doing it for herself. It doesn't mean that she should have all of the comments under the sun about her body. That is not okay. Women just being liberated and wearing whatever they want is not an invitation to be derogatory towards them.
I commented on her clothes not fitting her right at the Rogue Invitational. I've never spoke ill about her body. I've told you guys I like fat people. I like fat girls. I'm a huge fan of foreskin. I'm a huge fan of chubby chicks, chubby guys. I'm fucking the lover of all bodies.
He seems to be wrapped up in whether his comments were negative or not, but it's the fact that he's making comments at all. It's they're derogatory, they're disgusting, and just outright unnecessary. But here he starts to call Dani fat, I'm guessing to make it a bit of a dig, as she is clearly not fat, but tries to justify it by saying, well, I'm attracted to fatties. You'll see this is a bit of a theme later on. Honestly, it just makes me feel sick, it makes my skin crawl, and as a consistent theme, as he puts it, he continually attacks people for having mental illnesses. And in this example, he claims that Dani has a mental illness because she displays pictures of her body and had a go at him. This is clearly just an attack, and he's annoyed that she basically rejected him or called him out.
Most critical on this show, the one most consistent theme, is people with mental illnesses who direct them and project them onto me. And the fact that you're conflating me talking about your body with me being negative about your body, that's what I've been critical of on this show across the board. We're so self-absorbed that they think that they start talking to themselves. This person didn't ask you anything about me saying anything negative about your body. As I'm not someone who has mental illness, who gets defensive and takes what other people say and twists it in order to play the victim role.
Mental illnesses are a very serious thing, and they should not be bandied around as an insult. You can clearly see that this guy says things that are far more horrible than most people that struggle with mental illnesses. For instance, I have bipolar disorder and PTSD, and I managed to be nice. They are not an excuse to go around hurting people, and you can't go around saying that everybody that you disagree with has a mental illness, which he does do.
And I think your picture's wonderful, and you have an enormous ass.
That last comment's just disgusting. We did a little bit more digging, and I found a couple of articles talking about the sexual harassment within CrossFit and how that was a problem back in the day when Greg Glassman was there. And this podcast came up with Stacey Tovar, where Sevan constantly refers to her body, her menstrual cycle, her relationship, basically any other topic, objectifying her rather than treating her as the athlete that she is.
You didn't get fat. I just think like you have this, your body is freakishly amazing. You're no longer competing.
That's right.
And yet you're not slipping.
No.
You're not. I mean, you look, it's crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing one workout a day with my CrossFit Omaha fam. So
how does a man handle all of these other people wanting their wives, a piece of their wife? Because I'm assuming it's like that, right?
It seems to be a common theme when he's talking to women, because he also did this with Brooke Ents, asking whether their husbands or partners are okay with other men wanting them. It's obviously objectifying and portraying the woman as some sort of object that is owned by the husband, and that he should somehow be annoyed that other men find her attractive.
I mean, does someone direct message you every single day with some sort of solicitation?
yeah. I don't mean for it to ever be sexual or anything like that. I've been built this way my whole life.
Yeah, you guys look amazing.
Yeah, they all look great. I got seasick that day.
In these conversations, the women keep trying to bring the conversation back to something else, and Sevan will just interject with something about their body or something creepy again.
But I've been on a boat in Hawaii
How about
before.
menses? Do they ask you if you're on your period?
No, but you do have to use a restroom. That's Becca.
I don't recognize them when they're
that's
naked.
right.
I need to see their faces.
There's
It's super weird that he starts asking her about her period and whether she's on birth control. It just seems completely unrelated and again quite sexualizing. Would he ask a man any questions like this?
When you are in these 8 years, is all your female biology the same? Are you still having your menses? You're still regular?
Yeah.
You could have gotten pregnant the whole time?
Yeah.
And you just don't? What birth control do you use?
Cyclessa.
That's a pill?
Yeah, it's a pill.
You're okay with the pill?
Yeah. Although the girls tell me now, they're like, oh, if you would have gotten off of it, I'm sure you would have PR'd left and right.
Okay.
There's a few of them that got off of it and their numbers are just skyrocketing, which I found very interesting.
Honestly, after watching this podcast, there was barely any talk of her as an athlete. It was all about her body. It's so frustrating already that in a lot of fields, the attention is always brought to the woman's body and not her achievements. This is just another example of that. He basically just constantly obsesses over the women's bodies in the interviews.
So thick that everyone in the room is so uncomfortable. And he's talking about the kind of women he likes, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that you are not that thick, but you are so stunning and so exquisite, your physique, that it's like that. Like you're working out in the gym, and I think that everyone who walks in there is like, don't look. Oh, fuck, I want to look. Oh, fuck, I want to look. Don't look. And it's like, it's uncomfortable because everyone wants to see. Oh, fuck, my heart's beating out of my chest.
No. Hey,
Keep going.
Everyone wants to see, but they don't want to stare. And so the other day, and then like I kind of live for uncomfortable situations. So like the other day when you were doing those muscle ups, and I was just staring at your back, and then I'm like, don't let her catch you. I'm like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck.
And in this particular one with Brooke Ents, he admits to taking photos of people in public twice a month without their permission and basically intentionally staring at women.
I do that. I snap photos of people who unbeknownst to them, I'm snapping photos. I don't do it very often. I'm probably, let's say I'm a twice a month kind of guy.
I honestly don't know how he thinks it's okay. This is just a small sample. The common theme is just always bringing the conversation back to the woman as some sort of sexual object, including with younger athletes such as Rebecca here.
Damn, I should have known you were banging the coach when you were saying that. Damn. I noticed all the wheeze. There were so many wheeze.
Then we have this disgusting comment laughing about the abuse of women.
You are friends with Greg. How was the dynamic inside HQ in terms of being aggressive to girls, in terms of, like, I don't know what happened, but like abusing the females?
What do you mean abusing? What do you mean abusing? Tell me. What's abusing females look like? I want to hear this. What did you
I don't know.
hear?
That's why I'm asking. Like, whenever he left, there was a bunch of stories of, like, for example, like the Wi-Fi password being something weird. Like, I don't know what it was.
It was. You mean wet pussy?
That podcast was originally part of a YouTube video podcast that he has since taken down, probably because he got some backlash, I hope. But I managed to dig it up on Apple Podcasts because I remembered that one for how horrendous it is. And I've got more clips from that podcast as well, and it gets worse. We've got the misogyny and the sexism towards women and the constant obsession of sexualizing them. Next, we have the transphobia. I feel personally quite protective of trans people. Trans people face a lot of prejudice, and I think those of us that have a voice should stand up for the trans community.
I think that best you could be a dude who's masquerading as a chick. And so like I have trouble with someone who says, if you want to be grounded in reality, that you're a dude. If you're born a dude, you're a dude. Your chromosomes are like in every cell. So it doesn't matter if you chop off your dick, you slap on a pair of titties, you're a dude.
Here we have quite obvious transphobia. I don't think I really need to explain that one at all. And he uses the word tranny a lot, which is very offensive. I'll just put the Wikipedia thing up here. It's flagged as offensive as soon as you Google it. It's a slur. Yes, he is old. He is over 50. So maybe he's not up to date with what is and isn't okay to say. But my nan, who is in her 80s, actively learns what is and isn't acceptable, and she gets it wrong a lot, but that is okay. She really tries, and you can tell that her heart is in the right place, whereas in Sevan's case, he's clearly saying it to be offensive. He brings up that he thinks that it's a mental illness again.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't masquerade as a chick, and I have nothing, we do Halloween, for fuck's sake. If you want to do Halloween every day, go ahead. By the way, that's called mental illness, by the way. When you don't accept who you are, and you take those types of extremes.
Thanks to my friend who is a psychiatrist and works in mental health. As she says here, being trans is not a mental illness, and it was declassified as a mental disorder in 2019 by the World Health Organization. But I'm sure he's actually not interested in facts here at all, because he's clearly using, again, mental illness to attack people and to say that there is something wrong with them, or that their thoughts and feelings are somehow invalid or incorrect because they are mentally unwell.
But for some reason, you can say you feel like a chick and they chop your cock off. I'm not transphobic at all. I'm not transphobic at all. Bring me a handful of trannies. I'll fucking bathe with them in my big ass rich man's bathtub. I ain't transphobic at all. They cannot fucking be in sports.
The comment about bathing with trans people, again, I sent this to my friend, and she said, it's like saying I'm not racist because I'd sleep with a black person. It's dehumanizing them and turning them into some sort of sexual fetish, which is very on brand from what we've already seen, but it doesn't prove that you're not transphobic.
Okay, I used to go to the biggest tranny party in the world every year. Walk in there and there's this fucking giant woman who's like fucking 6'8", and she's got these huge set of tits and they're just out. And I run over and just put my face in the titties.
That last comment speaks for itself. There are more to all of these podcasts. You can go and listen to them. I've honestly just cropped out the worst bits. Now we get to the attack on Eric Rosa after he publicly spoke about his depression.
Hardly anyone on the staff has heard from Rosa since he declared he's mentally disabled a couple months ago.
Sevan uses lots of words interchangeably, like mentally disabled, and he also uses lots of other derogatory terms to describe him.
Those of you who are like, hey, it's not nice to make fun of him, I'm not making fun of him for his mental health issues. I'm making fun of you guys. I view it as selfish that he came out and said he's a quackadoodle.
It's clear by the language he's using that he's trying to be mean.
And then this guy, Rosa, claims mental health issues. And then he comes back and he fires Dave.
He continuously insinuates that Eric fired Dave because he was mentally ill and that was like an error in judgment. He constantly brings up the fact that he's mentally ill as a way to attack Eric and say that he shouldn't be running the company.
You're worried about a guy who some fucking shit rag newspaper says rubbed a girl's butt inappropriately? You have a guy at the helm of a company that has 15,000 small mom and pop businesses. You have fucking 90,000 jobs in the ecosystem, and that's being very conservative, that are reliant on a leader that's fucking mentally broken. What the fuck?
However, amazing leaders across history have had depression and led entire armies and done amazing things. Having depression is not a reason to not be a leader, and many people own companies, operate at a high level, and are still capable of being really successful despite their mental battles. Winston Churchill very famously had depression, as did Abraham Lincoln, and there's a whole list that you can look up, but other people such as The Rock, who is clearly an incredible leader and just human generally, and Olympic athletes like Michael Phelps all struggled with depression. It's not a sign that you can't be a leader or an incredible person. Everybody's journey is completely different, and we can't be making assumptions about Eric's capacity based on the fact that he has depression. And this is the reason why people don't talk about it, because they're scared that these kind of attacks will be made on people's character when they talk about their mental illnesses.
First, before anything, Mars, I want to make sure, is your mental health okay? Maybe you don't need a job. Maybe you need to take a month off. Maybe you need to take a month off. Don't worry about your family and your kids and the people who rely on you. Maybe you should just make a post on your Instagram and talk about how depressed you are because you can't find a job, and just how hard your life is right now, and just let your family just fucking blow in the wind for the next couple years, and you don't worry about it. Maybe have you thought about that option? Just post on your social media about your tough mental condition. Have you thought maybe, Mars?
Maybe if I can't do anything, I should start a podcast.
That's another thing. Or buy a company. Buy a company. Maybe you're depressed. You want to buy a big company that 100,000 people rely on to make a living, to put food on their table, and then see if that helps fix your mental illness. Maybe you should do that.
There's a lot of these clips and I've cut a lot of them out because there's honestly too many. Basically, he just constantly takes the piss out of Eric in multiple different podcasts, discusses his depression in a very derogatory way and insinuates that he is not capable of running CrossFit.
So my experience can help destigmatize. Oh, now you're helping that's why you're doing this. So that other people who are fucking have mental issues can now come out. I get it. Then step down.
Regardless of what you believe, it doesn't make it okay to use mental illness to attack people. And this is something Sevan does all of the time. He goes to the absolute extreme and compares Eric running CrossFit to literal child abuse.
Of course, no one wants to come out and say anything because you can't fire the gay guy, you can't fire the black guy, you can't fire the tranny, you can't fire the person with mental illness because then the woke mob will come after you. But let me tell you something. I would be willing to bet big money that the majority of affiliates are like, wow, like this is finding out when you're 14 years old that it's not been okay for your mom and dad to be beating you, or wasn't okay for your mom's boyfriend to be molesting you for the last 5 years. You're 14 years old and you just figured that out, and the next 2 years until you're 16, you're looking for an exit strategy. Your mom and dad have to be strong.
And that's not where the analogies stop. If you're unaware, he's also a proper tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorist. I know there are lots of different opinions out there on the virus and the vaccine, etc.
If you can't see that, that's a whole nother show and we could talk about it. The cure should never cause more damage than the disease. And right now, the cure is 10 billion to 1, no matter how you slice it. If you are pro-mask, but you're anti-vaccine, or you're pro-vaccine and anti-mask, anywhere you jump into this now, you are complicit. It doesn't matter if you were just the train driver that drove the Jews to fucking Auschwitz. You are fucking complicit.
But he literally thinks the whole pandemic was a joke and that none of it is true or real. He used to post about this a lot on his Instagram, and that'll be around the time where he decided to throw some hate at me. I left a thoughtful but quite balanced comment on a post insinuating that body positivity was celebrating obesity, which obviously is not true. Within that comment, I said that people at any stage of their journey should be able to feel positive about their body, regardless on whether they're trying to lose weight or not, and that there are many people out there that can't pursue weight loss, which is factual. There was a point in my life where I could not pursue weight loss because I have a history of eating disorders, and putting myself in a calorie deficit would have caused a relapse. There are loads of other people out there that have many other reasons why they can't lose weight right now, and that is okay. You don't owe weight loss to anybody. Your health is your business and your business alone. Sevan decided to have a go at my comment. You can see from this comment that he's just really fat phobic generally, and he also blames the entire virus on obesity and obese people. He also seems to have an obsession with this idea of a carbohydrate addiction, which I think he believes is why people are fat. Obviously that's not true. Any of us that have any form of nutrition qualification are aware that that is not a thing. But this guy doesn't care about science. He had blocked me at this point, but I put the altercation on my story, as I do sometimes when I get hate comments, and a load of people sent me this, showing that his page was flagged for false information. And if you try and find this Instagram page, it actually no longer exists because I presume he got taken down for spreading so much misinformation. My followers pointed out to me that I am not the first person to realise the kind of guy he is and the sort of stuff that he says. A quick search on Reddit or a look in the comment section of the CrossFit podcast, you'll see that I'm not the only one that thinks this, and a lot of other people see the problem with what he's saying. I wonder if maybe all of those incredible athletes that end up on his podcast and amplify his platform aren't aware that he says these kind of things or how problematic the kind of things that he's saying is. As I said, I think the clips speak for themselves, and I really hope that the CrossFit community sees how problematic this kind of thing is. Do you think CrossFit is truly inclusive? In this video next, I go through some of the fat phobia that I've experienced and my perspective on whether it is truly inclusive or whether there's some work to be done. Thank you for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.